Hey everyone, today I'm not doing a block constructed. Instead, I'm going to be doing a cube draft. It's mostly because block constructed is kind of done now, and cubing is very fun, though obviously very tailor-made to whatever you want to do. And I generally like the build around me decks, like Tinker or what have you, so I'll just make this a little bigger. So in this pack, what jumps out at me is Progenitus, which I'm not going to first pick because I'm not that crazy. Scrubland is probably the worst dual land, but every dual land's worth taking. I don't really like the bounce lands, taking them at least, because they're too easily exploited with avalanche riders and whatnot. And I hate like being down two lands. I love Goblin Welder. I love Vidalcan Shackles. So those are the two cards I'm uh, looking at taking. Ponder I could also see taking, because though Ponder is not as good as it was in Constructed, because you don't have a reliable shuffling effect, so you usually want to get some fetches first. So, also it's kind of awkward that Caracas and Progenitus in the same pack, because if someone sees the Progenitus, and then they can just take the Caracas and never have to worry about it. Or, well, won't have to worry about it as much. I'm going to take the Welder and try to build around towards that. I think it's like definitely a risky pick, because it's like pretty randomly just taking the Dark. But it's a card I like to build around, so I'm going to grab it. So in here I see Academy Ruins, Ancient Tomb would go along with my Goblin Welder theme deck. Chain Lightning would also be very good because it's a good red burn spell, good removal to protect me. There's a Emrakul, Sun Titan, and a Chroma. Well, mostly a Chroma and Emrakul for the Sneak and Show deck that Progenitus would go in. Sun Titan's just like a good card. Factor Fiction's also super good. And if I'd play this deck, I'd most likely go red-blue. Because blue has the most density of artifacts as well as Tinker. So I think the safest picks are probably Chain Lightning or Factor Fiction. Since I already have a Welder, I want to go into red and play that kind of deck. I want to pick Chain Lightning. I think a month ago I would have picked Factor Fiction and just like forced myself into blue, trying to open Tinker, but at least this way I can transition into just a mono red deck if things don't work out. So my favorite card in Magic, Mind's Desire, I'm not gonna take here because it honestly just sucks in cube. I don't even know what's in here, and that's saying from trying to make that work over and over and over again. I can never make Mind's Desire work in cube. You just can't support it. It's basically impossible. So in this pack, I can pick probably Precursor Golem or Hellrider or Plateau. And I'm leaning towards Precursor Golem for the sweet Goblin Welder chaining, because I believe you can sacrifice the artifact. Yeah, you can sacrifice the token the Precursor Golem makes. That's a cute little combo. I'm going to take that just so I can try that out. I know I'm shoehorning myself into an artifact deck here, or some sort of a Welder deck, but that's fine by me. It's some good duels in here. Tooth and Nail, Fire Blast, Brimstone Voice, Slagstorm, Citadel, and Firelit Thicket are all cards I'm considering taking. I'm even considering taking Tooth and Nail because there are a lot of huge creatures in the first pack. But how many cards are in this? Actually, there's no way Tooth and Nail wheels because there's a lot of weak cards in this pack. Like Gravecrawler is actually pretty weak because Black Aggro is really bad. Weathered Wayfarer is also not a card I would take because the lands in this particular cube aren't that awe-inspiring. Banyan Living's also pretty weak. Esper Charm's pretty strong though. I think I'm just gonna take the Firelit Thicket and hope the Tooth and Nail wheels, though I honestly don't expect it to. And I know I want the dual land more than I want to try to go into some sort of Tooth and Nail type of deck. So this is kind of interesting. I've got my viable picks here: Flooded Strand because it's a fetch land, Ravenous Baboons, and Price of Progress. So I want to go into mono red, and Stomping Around is just for dual land. I think I'm going to take the Baboons here over Stomping Ground. I think those are my two main choices because Baboons is a lot more powerful in a mono red deck if no one's drafting it, which I haven't seen reason to believe that people aren't drafting it yet. Even though Stomping Ground's a safer pick and lets me go into green easier. There's not really a lot to be gained from a green in an artifact based deck. Whereas if I were to take the baboons and wheel something like Blistering Firecat, I can just try to go into mono red, which isn't interesting, but life gives you lemons, you gotta make lemonade. And I'm taking the... I'm not sure actually what's better between Firecat or Genju, but I do know that Blistering Firecat has 7 power, and that's greater than 6, so that's what I'm basing my decision off of. Though I do understand that the Genju can swing more than once. I don't know what this card does. Oh, I do know what this card does. Honestly, this pack's pretty mediocre. I can take Markham Mutiny, Lodestone Golem, or Shivan Reef. Okay, pack 2, I've got Bone Splitter, Rakdos Cackler, if I want to play red. Also, Gathen Ragers is pretty good too, but it's not on the same level as Bone Splitter or Cacklers. I could take Lotus Cobra or Vengevine if I wanted to send myself into like red. There's no really good white cards in here. I could take Tech Edge for the extra land destruction, but I can't. Like, 1-drops are so important to a mono red deck, you just want to take those as much as you can. So I'm just gonna like slam this. I also don't mind playing mono red and cube. It's like the fun police. I like crushing people's dreams. The Chaos Warp's kind of niche. I kind of hope the Gathen Raiders or the Bone Splitters or the Tech Edge wheel. Like, all those would be pretty sweet wheels. Ooh, Rousarek. That's like my favorite Planeswalker. I really, if I'd taken the Shivan Reef, I would have 100% taken Rousarek here. But as is, I think it's between Blood Crypt or Goblin Patrol. And I have to check Ashima's student does. I think it's a clone, right? Okay, yeah, it's a clone and just becomes a ninja. I'm just gonna take the Goblin Patrol. It kind of sucks by today's standards, but it's still 2-powered 1-drop, so it's good enough. Kind of makes me wish I'd taken, Goblin Cadets becomes blocked, or blocks or becomes blocked. Opponent gains control of it. Must be a meh. This pack kind of sucks for me. I could take Carplusion Forest to go with my Firelit Thicket, but I don't have any green cards. Or I could take Dragon Soul Summit to go with my Blightning, which is a lot better. So I'm just gonna take the Summit. I think Goblin Cats is pretty bad. I've never played with it, but it doesn't seem that good to me. I guess if you'd... it doesn't seem that bad, actually. It seems better than Goblin Patrol. Like, if you're gonna attack with it and it's blocked, you just... It's only got 1 toughness, so you're basically not gonna block with it anyway. But I don't think anyone's in that deck, and I really want this black land, so I'm just gonna take it over the Cadets and hope the Cadets wheel. Ooh, Dragon Lord and a Stormblood Berserker. I actually have no idea what's better. And there's a lot of lands in this pack too. Sunken Ruins, Wooded Bastion, and Battlefield Forge and Bayou. That's a really good selection for someone out there. As well as the Llanowar Elves. I think the Dragon Lords is probably better, because I only have 2 1-drops right now, I think. If you don't count the Goblin Water, which I'm not sure I'm playing, I only have 2 1-drops that I can attack with and then play the Stormblood Berserker, so I think Dragon Lord's a little better. And we have a Smokestack, which is a pretty sweet card, and a Rootbound Crag, which, meh. Or I could hate draft like the Maze of Ith or Engineered Explosives. I'm leaning heavily towards the Smokestack here, because if I wheel that Tech Edge, I have Baboons and Avalanche Riders at 4. So I can just play those guys and then play Smokestacks, and they'll have to get rid of their stuff, and that seems pretty fun to me. That seems definitely better than the other option of like take a Rootbound Crag and hope to wield something I'm not even in a color yet, or hate draft Mazes Ender Explosives. Actually, Mazes Ender is probably better, or Maze of Ith rather, is probably better, but I'm in for the denying everyone else fun. Ooh, Tanglewire. Dang, Tanglewire and Badlands. It's actually a pretty tough decision. I'm gonna go for Tanglewire here. Actually, probably Badlands. It all depends on whether I want a more stable mana base with no fetches. I would really hate to play Basic Swamp, but I think Tanglewire is definitely better than Blightning, so I'm not going to go into black for that. Keldon Champion, that card's very good. Keldon Champion and Mutable. Well, I know I'm taking Keldon Champion because it does 6 when he comes into play, and he only costs 4 mana. And if you want to keep him around, he costs an extra 4. I also really love the art on these duels for the cube online. I have a lot of 4-drops. Ooh, this card I thought was a Bloodstained Mire, but it's actually like significantly worse. Is it better than... Ooh, Shrine of Burning Rage. Wow, can't believe I missed that. I was like, is this a Mirage fetch land better than the Stagger Shock? But I can actually just circumvent that by just having a Shrine of Burning Rage. And honestly, since I don't have any shuffle effects, it's probably just better to grab the Crumbling Necropolis instead of a Rocky Tar Pit. That way I don't have to have a basic swamp in my library, or in my deck. So Shrine it is. The Raiders wield, but the Bone Splitter didn't, which kind of makes my Goblin Patrol much worse. But with Tanglewire, Smokestacks, and Precursor Golem, I'm probably playing him anyway. Because I love this little guy. It's like one of my favorite cards. Yep, we're taking the Raiders. He's a 3-drop. Ooh, Bloodcrypt wield. That's pretty good for us. For me. Can't get the Badlands to wield because that's too far away from me. I kind of need more 2-drops. 2-drops and 1-drops are what you really want. 3s and 4s are mostly to just like stop them from doing things. Ooh, got the Goblin Cadets back, which I decided was a fine choice after I thought about it. So we've got a trio of 2-power 1-drops. 10th Street Hooligan, which we're not likely to play. Or, oh, sorry, it's at least a Piker. We can like play the Firelit Thicket and play a Hooligan. Yeah, that's fine. The awkward thing about it is you if you can't help but pay green mana for it, it has to come into play and kill one of your artifacts, which is kind of unfortunate. I'm gonna take Battlefield Forge, just in case I find a white card I want to play, since I have Plateau and Battlefield Forge already. Well, I don't care about sideboarding in Nature's Claim, and I don't want to play against Engineered Explosives for 1 if I have like 2 1-drops out. Like, I still have time to open up Sulfuric Vortex or Goblin Guide, neither of which I want to get. Well, I guess it's a lot harder to kill the Sulfuric Vortex, but that's why it's so good. Gonna get rid of Enter the Royal because Nightscape Familiar doesn't really do anything. A lot of bad cards on the Magic Online cube. I don't really get their reasoning behind a lot of their changes they make. It's probably just something I'm not used to, because I haven't played with this Magic Online cube in a while. And a couple of my friends have cubes, and I get to cube all the time, so I'm a little biased. Though, the last time I drafted mono red was a very long time ago. I usually go into a draft and force myself into one specific thing, like I did with the Goblin Welder on the first pick. Like, I usually take, like, some Tinker or something like that. Oh, wow. Got this Sulfuric Vortex. Well, that's game, boys. I guess I'll just stare at it. This pack's really good, actually. Like, a Trop, 2 Reanimator, or 3 Reanimator cards, Tarmogoyf, Fetch Land, and all this stuff isn't that good. Okay, this pack isn't that good. It's just a Sulfuric Vortex in it. But as I was saying, this is actually a pretty hard pick. It's between Siege Gang Commander and Wasteland. I think Wasteland's way better. Maybe it's not a hard pick. I mean, maybe not way better, but I have a lot of expensive cards already, and Wasteland fits in with my 3, if you count Smokestack, land destruction cards. And land destruction gets significantly better in multiples, which is probably why they stopped printing land destruction cards that are reasonably costed. I think the most recent land destruction card cost like 5. Ooh, a Johnny Vengeance. That's definitely worth splashing for. I have a Plateau and a Battlefield Forge. That card's extremely good. And more green-blue lands. I mean, Torch Fiend Goodwheel, I'd take it because it's a piker. But actually nothing in that pack is that great for me other than a Johnny. But a Johnny is excellent, so. A Figure of Destiny and a Bushwhacker. Well, normally I take Figure because, as I said, like multiple times now, 1-drops are way better than anything else you could be doing in a red deck, but I think land destruction is way more fun, so I'm gonna crush people's dreams as much as possible. And I could live with either the Jungle Shrine or the Figure wheeling, so I can cast a Johnny off jungle or just have a good creature if I have Figure. I think I'm gonna hide this Blightning. I'm unlikely to play it now that I have a White Splash. It's a good thing I didn't take Shivan Reef. This card's much worse than, this card's much better than Razorek. And they're very similar. I guess Razorek would let me untap with my Goblin Wielder, so I could like make a Precursor Golem, tap, sack it, get a Smokestack or something, then sack a token for another Precursor Golem. So Magus, Zealous, Conscript, and Gargadon. There are a lot of lands that have gone late, so I feel uncomfortable taking Magus. But I can't remember how good Greater Gargadon is, honestly. It's probably fine since I have all these artifacts. Yeah. I would take Magus Loon more if I had been noticing fewer lands in packs, because that means people are actually valuing them more and taking them and putting them in their deck. Like, people will likely still have non-basic lands, obviously, but since they're not taking them as highly as I would be, they're probably just going to get a bunch of leftovers at the end of the picks, and so they won't have as many for their decks, so they won't play as many. So I'm not too worried about Magus. And there's a Koth of the Hammer. Ah, man, it sucks the Koth and the Scalding Tarn are in the same pack. I could play Domri Raid if I had more green sources, but all I have is Firelit Thicket. And Curse Scroll is fine. It's no Koth, I think. I have a lot of powerful cards right now. Not a lot of Sly cards. Ooh, Rugged Prairie. I think I'm taking that just so I can cast a Johnny more easily. Or easier. Easier? Easier. But Spark Mage and Firebolt are both good. I'd probably take Firebolt, because I like the versatility it offers. Spark Mage can only ever do 1 damage a turn. I would kill for that Scalding Tarn to wheel, but that would have to be like the second to last card in the pack. So that's just not gonna happen, unfortunately. I don't know if I can play the Smokestack now, because I can't afford to throw away my permanents when I have Koth and a Johnny. And a Precursor Golem. Ooh, Volcanic Island. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do with the blue mana for that, but I love the art on it, so I'm gonna take Crucible of Worlds, since it actually combos pretty well with my Wasteland. Though I'm pretty unlikely to play it, in all honesty. I wonder how many cards this is right now. So if I hide the Summit, the Black Lands, and the Crucible, this is 28 with 4 lands. So I need to take out like an additional card, maybe the Gargadon? Earthquake? Wow. See, I wouldn't... I'm always pretty surprised when a dual land wheels, especially a blue dual. It means people just aren't valuing them high enough. They're one of the... like, duals are extremely good. And there's another blue dual that wheeled. Which is strange, because there's been very few good blue cards that I've seen. I'll just take the Searing Blaze. I didn't wheel the card I wanted out of this pack. I can't remember what it was, though. I think it was like a Torch Fiend. What do I care the most about? Probably the Sacred Oracle. Ooh, and the Jungle Shrine wheeled. Sweet. And the Magus. So I don't think I'm playing Smokestack. I'm gonna play Chitentry Hogan just so I have a body. I'm probably not playing Earthquake. Probably not. I really want to play this Wielder Precursor Golem nonsense. Or Welder Precursor Golem nonsense, but I don't know if that's good. Take the Curse Scroll over the 8-drop because I can actually cast it. Okay, so I'm fun policing people today. And getting the Cackler and the Vengeant. I'm not gonna play those cards. I'm gonna play these, but we'll leave them to the side for right now because of I don't want their land count to end. I'll count Wasteland as a... Nah, we're not doing that. Screw that. I'll just shove in all the red cards I grabbed and take out the ones I don't like. Except for Earthquake. I don't want to play Earthquake. Okay, so this is 26 cards. I usually play around 24, 23. In this deck, I want to play 23 since I have a Johnny, a Cough, and Precursor Golem, as well as like a ton of 4-drops. So let me separate my spells a little bit. I don't have that many creatures, I don't think. Only 15 creatures. And that's not counting the Genja, or the Genju. So we have Cough, Johnny. Yep. Okay, so I want to take out 3 cards. Pretty sure it's going to be Mark. Just because I don't... I don't know if that's right. Mark is a fine card. But its value fluctuates pretty wildly. Tentry Hogan might not be worth it. It's just a creature. It's not particularly good at what it does. Even Ruin Blaster is even a 4-drop. I think actually my best option is to take out the Golems and the Welder because I'm playing mono red. I don't really need that kind of cute interaction. But it's like the sweetest thing in my deck. I can't bear to take it out. But honestly, I think that's what I need to do. Otherwise, I'd just be living too much of a dream, and I can't allow that. I'm trying to figure out if I can put this Mark of Mutiny in somewhere. I think it's definitely worse than all the cards I have down here, except for maybe Searing Blaze. Curse Scroll, maybe? Curse Scroll is actually a pretty good source of damage. Yeah, maybe just Searing Blaze. Okay, so putting all these in, I'm not going to play Plains because I have 4 white sources and only 1 white card. So I'll put in the Firelit Thicket because for the Tentry Hooligan, because there's basically no downside to it. Sample Opening Hand, Rugged Prairie, Firelit Thicket, Wasteland, then spells. But other than that, Bring on the Mountains. 10 mountains? We can get better lands than that, I think. Why did it only give me 39 cards? Did I mess up somewhere? Okay, I need another mountain. So we're done. We're done building. I'm gonna go ahead and submit, or I would submit, but here's a sweet thing you can do. We're gonna go to. We're gonna save this as anything really, draft, and we're gonna replace our mountains with unhinged mountains because we're playing cubes, so we have to be as professional as possible. So we're gonna go in here, load our deck, and we're gonna replace them with unhinged lands. And the way you do this is you just take all your mountains. There's 10, looks like 11 mountains. I'm gonna have to go. I think I did something wrong with my deck, so let me see here. So this is 23 cards, and this is 17 cards. But oh, I see what I did. I just miscounted. But anyway, you take your 11 mountains or whatever you want to do here, and you go to your filter. You filter it to only promotional cards. Then you uncheck my cards, and it's going to bring up like a. And what I like typing is basic. I think it's land mountain, right? And it'll bring up all the mountains, but it won't show you all of them unless you check show all versions. So then you just go in through here and you find the unhinged one, or whatever one you want to use. You add them up, then save it, then go back to your deck builder and load it up. And we're going to load up the cube draft.deck, and then you can submit your deck with unhinged lands, which was actually a feature in the original Magic Online Cube, like the very first implementation of it. But since then, they've just fallen off pretty much. Like I'm not playing with M10 lands. Let's be real here. I have higher standards than that. So I'm playing with these unhinged mountains, and that's how you do it. You can do it with any draft. It doesn't matter if it's a cube or not. So it's something to keep in mind. And I'll see y'all when round 1 begins.